You stare too long into the abyss will stare back into you. Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "You, my friend, are staring into the anus of a sea cucumber, filmed underwater in the Philippines at night. But there is a multitude of other wildlife to see. Here I'm mobbed by shrimpfish. Why are they so close to me? Well, at night, obviously, I'm using a dive light. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see during this night dive. The light attracts small crustaceans. These shrimpfish feast on these crustaceans. They always travel in schools with their unique way of swimming, head down. Normally, they pick off crustaceans from the seafloor. Now, they use my camera and the attached lights as a buffet. These animals are distant relatives of seahorses and pipefishes, but they have their own unique way of swimming and of feeding. This is one of the amazing encounters which I had during the last months when night diving on Negros Island. So follow me along from the shrimpfish, the sea cucumber, to a multitude of other fascinating critters, which are filmed for your viewing pleasure. Sir, these days everybody's talking about their feelings, as we know. So what are your feelings when you're gonna night dive?
It's dark and scary.
Ja. Hicks und dragones. They're dragons underwater. Yes, they're animals to be afraid of. At least if you're in the habit of touching things. These juvenile scorpion fishes are fairly venomous. They're still tiny, but they will grow up, and if you touch the dorsal fin spines, you're probably diving on your way to the hospital. This is a spiny devilfish, or demon walkman fish. It's a type of stonefish. This fish is actually very venomous. Enormously painful feelings are the result if you get onto its dorsal fin spines. Even the strongest painkillers don't work anymore in this case, and there have been deaths too, as a result of encounters with this fish. Some fish you will have to eat in order to suffer, like this pufferfish, which is quite poisonous.
Now, when I talk about my feelings, a feeling I often have is an itch, which I often get during a night dive because there's lots of jellyfish.
Yeah.
What do you think about this feeling? You have that too?
Well, you get an itchy bum?
All body parts.
Yeah.
Back, armpit, what do you think about this feeling during night dives? Itch.
It's itchy?
Yeah.
Yeah, itchy.
Itchy's
itchy. Yeah.
Okay.
However, not all critters are nasty and venomous or poisonous. This tiny filefish is holding onto a piece of seaweed. It does that so that it stays in place. These fishes are territorial. They want to stay in the place where they know their way around and they know where to find food. In order to not get swept away at night by significant currents, they grab seaweed with their little mouths. A curious behavior, which yet again shows that fishes are intelligent animals. This has been described for a few species. This is a pufferfish. And look at the little shrimp jumping around on it. What are they doing there? They're cleaner shrimp, the parasite removers. Parasites are a fact of life for many fishes. Look at the blood-filled parasite on the eye of this sole. It's a natid isopod, which sticks to a fish, sucks itself full of blood, and then falls off again. In order to be relieved of such pests, they are cleaner wrasses during the day and cleaner shrimp at night. The pufferfish is holding still so that this shrimp can do their job and inspect its body for nasty parasites, which they then feast on. Everybody wins. The shrimp are very diligent in inspecting every square centimeter of the fish body. The fish is holding still. This is a soul. Remember when I told you about the venomous fishes? This one just pretends to be venomous. It pretends to be a flatworm. Flatworms are generally very venomous animals. And this fish looks similar enough to a flatworm, and it moves in a manner similar to a flatworm as well. This is called mimicry. Yet another amazing type of fish behavior which you usually only see at night. These juvenile souls change their colorations when they grow larger and become adults. When the mimicry, pretending to be a flatworm, is not credible anymore. This is how dark it actually is during a night dive. All the footage you see in the rest of the video is footage in the middle of the cone of a dive light. Whom are we looking at here? They're two very observant eyes, and they belong to a bobtail squid, a tiny cephalopod, a relative of the octopi and squid. They don't like to be seen. They're very active at night, and you very rarely encounter them during the day. This one is trying to get away from me, and this one is trying to dig itself into the sand to escape the bright video light of mine. This is another part of the fauna which you see much better during night dives as compared to dives during the day. Here we have a cuttlefish, another master of camouflage. It can very quickly change the texture and the color of its skin by using tiny muscles embedded in that skin. Still, it's trying to get away from me, and there are lots of foraminifera on the seafloor, and it's taking up a texture to match them. Again, this one is trying to match the color of the sand. A lot of animals, understandably, don't want to be detected by humans. This is a large snail, Hemicasis. Yet another animal which you will very rarely only see during the day. The mollusks are definitely a fauna which you can discover during night dives in a much better way than during dives done during the day. This animal was on its way, and it's a very quick crawler for such a large snail. You can also see all the tiny crustaceans which are attracted to my video light here, which are bumping into this giant. Just like mosquitoes attracted to your garden light during a warm summer night, dive lights often attract a lot of tiny crustaceans. And look at this massive accumulation of tiny crustaceans in the cone of a dive light. But what is this? Is this a whale shark filter feeding on plankton? Crabs are definitely an attraction of any night dive. These animals are also hiding during the day because they don't want to get eaten by fishes. Now, these two crabs here, experts tell me, are probably about to mate. The larger animal is a male, and it has grabbed a female just after her molt. And they're waiting for the carcass of the female to harden before they actually mate. We see a lot of interesting crab behavior during night dives, and often these are mating and escape behaviors. In this case, we see both of these behaviors at the same time. They are about to mate, and they're also trying to escape, to get away from my video light. There's really very little I can do in terms of not frightening and scaring these animals at night. Without a light, obviously I wouldn't see anything. Now, this crab also wants to get away from my light, and it's very clever in how it's doing this. It's lifting a ball of algae on top of itself, and then it's disappearing under the sand. Two types of camouflage at the same time. Shrimps, also lots of these, very high biodiversity. Another curious crab. Now, what we have here is a harlequin crab, which very often lives at the base of these anemones. In this case, this commensalism, this symbiosis, went wrong, and the crab got entangled in the arms of this anemone. What to do? Well, the anemone is very sticky, and if you're tiny like this crab, this can be a serious problem. So even though the anemone normally is a very useful home for this crab, now it has a problem. So it's very clever in twisting itself out of the grasp of the anemone in a kind of crustacean jiu-jitsu, and then once it's out of the grasp of the arm, so there's only one arm left stuck to that crab, it also digs itself into the sand, completely out of the reach of the anemone. The crab is quite clever, and even though the anemone doesn't have a brain, it still shows this distributed intelligence of just grabbing everything that's within its reach. But in this case, the crab won. This is probably one of the most curious things I've filmed recently. And of course, also at night, a large decorator crab. So this crab carries a sponge on its back. Now there are several crabs belonging to several different species on that sponge. So you can see two of them here. I've slowed down the video because they were moving so fast. What's happening now is these crabs were hit by an annelid worm, and they didn't particularly like that encounter, which just happened now. So they moved from that corner of the sponge to a different part of the sponge, but to no avail. The sponge was also covered in more of these worms, and the crabs really had to make an effort to find a peaceful spot. Life is not easy if you are a tiny crab underwater. There's so much to discover during night dives, which just doesn't occur during dives which you do during the day. On one of our favorite night diving sites, we found this large accumulation of large sea stars, which were either spawning or feasting on something there. And this happened over the course of several days, that they would all congregate in this spot for reasons not completely clear to me. Some of them even ended up on top of each other. Again, it's not clear to me, are they spawning or did they just find something that's particularly nutritious for them? So this was our journey through our night diving, and we're back with the sea cucumber, which I showed you at the beginning. The sea cucumbers breathe through the anuses, hence this curious tendency of these animals to lay there and open and close their buttholes. Now, night diving is something you owe yourself to try. And I want to say to my academic colleagues, who often do not do a lot of night dives, even though they're marine biologists, there's another fauna, there's almost a parallel ecology which you can find at night. Don't neglect this. Night dives are awesome. What else is awesome? My books, which I think you should check out, maybe even buy. This is The Life of Gobies, which is a natural history for the interested layperson about this very species-rich, really fascinating family of fishes, the gobies. I cover both marine as well as freshwater gobies. And then I just recently this year released Your Brain on Diving, which covers what happens in your head when you go underwater, either on scuba or on breath hold. Check it out. I hope you enjoyed this video.